Um, well, if you follow a number of different science fiction things, notably, hold on, I'm going to switch back to the camera because I don't want you staring at this the whole time. I realize that staring at the whatchamacallit, staring at the Weeping Angel screen was rather boring unless you wanted to read it. So, the galactic politics thing, it's really of whoever is in power at time. First it was the precursors. They were the first inhabitants of the galaxy. Then it was the forerunners, which I can talk a lot about. Probably going to get to those next episode. Because there's the forerunners, and there's the ancients, and there's the Altarans, and they're all one and the same. They came to this galaxy, escaping the Ori, which were ascended beings that were misusing their powers. And they defeated the Precursor Empire, and the Precursors were separated and de-evolved, and they de-evolved into hundreds and hundreds of different species, all of which are found around the galaxy. Well, some of which are found around the galaxy today, but like 90-something% of all sentient species right now devolved from devolved precursors, basically. But yeah, when they were the Altarans before they came here, and then they were still the Altarans, but they call themselves the Forerunners instead, and then we started to call them the Ancients, and then we found the Halo Rings in 2500, and then we started calling them the Forerunners too. So, there's that. But they reigned for a long time until 100,000 BC, just about, when they set off the Halo Array to prevent the Flood from wiping out all life in the galaxy. And then after that, there were what we call the Days of Empty Space, which are, there was very little FTL travel in this galaxy. After that, I should have my laptop here with me. I have a lot of information that I've wrote down, or taken down and kind of conjured up on the laptop, which I should be reading off because I have it. But there were the Days of Empty Space, and then there was, the next things to come to power were actually the Goa'uld. Now they're little snake creatures. They're about this long, and they're evil, and they like enter through either your mouth or the back of your neck or something, and they wrap themselves around your spinal cord, and they control your brain. They're very unpleasant. So they took to interstellar space first, and then after that, they basically terrorized our quadrant of the galaxy for thousands of years. And then eventually we created SG-1, which was the first team to fight back and be successful, nonetheless. So we were able to effectively eradicate the Goa'uld, except for Ball, because he keeps, to this day, we think we killed him, but we didn't. To this day, keeps making clones of himself. Every time we think we get rid of him, there's just another one of them hanging around. B-A-A-L, not B-A-L-L. But after the Goa'uld fell, the Ori tried to fill the power vacuum. We forced them out of the galaxy using the Arc of Truth, if you've ever seen that movie. SG-1 saves the day again. And then there were the Vogons. The Vogons didn't necessarily bother us. We had a foothold in space at that point, but we didn't really have a lot. But the Vogons realized that there was a power void, and they used their bureaucratic nature to... they distributed their hyperdrive technology to dozens of civilizations, and then basically said, okay, we're in charge now, everyone's going to be under our bureaucracy. And people didn't mind this. But they did mind the Vogons because they were ugly as hell, so the Vogons created the presidential seat, which really doesn't do much of anything, except until they realized their bureaucratic nature forced them to obey him anyways. So they would just ask him. Fortunately and unfortunately, this president was Zaphod Beeblebrox, and he's kind of an idiot. So they could just ask him whatever they want, and he'd be like, yeah, sure, go do it. He's an idiot. He commissioned the destruction of Earth. Actually, what was it? A couple of weeks ago. 2 Fridays ago. Yeah, 2 Fridays ago. 2 weeks ago, actually, almost. Exactly. But luckily we were replaced by Earth Mark II, manufactured by Magrathea. There's a lot to talk about there, too. But they had their seat of power for around 7 years. And then in the year 2015, there was one crack of the universe left open before it sealed itself from a place called Pete's World. That's what the Doctor liked to call it. Pete's World. That's actually Doctor Who stuff. I could pop back on the Doctor Who wiki for that. There's Pete's World, and that Rose Tyler, one of the 9th Doctor's only companion and the 10th Doctor's first companion, was trapped in that universe, and basically there was no getting her out. But he forced a star to supernova and burned up all the energy from it to send a message through this last crack in the universe to her, basically saying goodbye. That star was the Vogons' sun. And that was the end of the Vogons. Now, in 2015, humans kept their foothold in the galaxy. But we were using Stargates to jump around. We were using our hyperdrive system. The Asgard hyperdrive system. Not the Shaw Fujikawa slipspace drive, not yet. But that's when the Covenant started to come about, if I'm correct. Let me just hop back over here. I don't have all the dates memorized, unfortunately. Let's see, where's the big H? Oh, it's not a big H anymore. It's the marathon symbol, naturally. There we go. No. Covenant Empire. I want to know when exactly it formed. Hierarchs, High Council, blah, blah, blah. Genocidal campaign against humanity. You know, that's very nice. No, I'm not. Okay, 852 BCE. Well, they didn't really hold a seat of power until... Well, let me think. They were around for a very long time, but they didn't interfere with things in our quadrant for ages and ages, hundreds of years. Very nearly a millennium and a half. But they were the first coalition. They were one of the first coalitions. They were the first to really have great power after the Vogons fell. Kind of by accident, but it was probably for the better. So the Covenant came to power, and then in the 2500s, 2525 I believe it was, the Covenant stumbled upon UNSC World of Harvest. But the UNSC comes after... Here, let me do this progression here. There was the progression from the SGC, Stargate Command, in the 1990s and 2000s, and I think 2100s. Sorry. Up until, like... What was it? Well, 2162, there was an attempted Dalek invasion, which went public. There was no covering it up at that point. And then that forced the Stargate program to go public, as well as the TTO. Everyone knew about the TTO for about 42 years. 42. At that point, there was a device in the Covenant archives, which was a Forerunner/ancient device, called the new Atero device. If you know what the Atero device is, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's a device created to disrupt subspace so that Stargates don't work, hyperdrives don't work, and just a slew of other things that are related to interstellar communications and travel don't work at all. But then the uprising that came with that, there was a massive uprising, because now suddenly we've had 40 years of this stuff and now it doesn't work. Everyone was very angry. There was almost a world war. There were riots in the streets of every city across the world. And we lost almost all of the data we had on both the TTO and interstellar relations and travel and all that kind of stuff. But then the Shaw Fujikawa slipspace drive was put to use very well, and we launched the colony ships in the 2300s. We colonized new planets, and then 2525 came, and we were in the middle of the war with the insurrectionists. Excuse me, the war with the insurrectionists, and suddenly we had this incredible new threat to face, which we used the Spartans to combat, as in Master Chief and his fellow Spartans, and then the Spartan 3s later, and the Spartan 4s are for a much later conflict. But there's the end of that, and I bet you're all wondering, all of you Star Trek fans, where is Star Trek? Because I do believe... Actually, I'm not sure if I have a Star Trek wiki in here, so I may have to find it.